mumtomillionaire.com.
Obviously, it's been extremely difficult. You're at home now with the kids by yourself.
Yes.
And I mean, when did the decision come to homeschool them? Because they did used to go to school, didn't
They did.
Yeah.
So my son went to school, because he's the eldest, for about 2 years. His sister for a year. And my third child was in nursery. So my decision to homeschool was, to be honest, I've always actually wanted to homeschool the kids because I was the kind of parent that spent a lot of time with them. You know, I would read to them stories and so forth. And it just popped into my head because it was something I just wanted to do. And I just used to think about it. And basically, instead of me following through with that idea, I talked myself out of it and let my son start school. So he started school, and after a year, I was like, oh my God, I can do better than this. And it wasn't that I can do better than the teachers. I just felt that I could do so much better in terms of what I could give him, my time, you know, what he could learn, what we could be doing. And I still didn't listen to myself. I gave it another year. And so by the time he hit year 2, I was watching and I was thinking, oh my God, my son is bored, because he's very bright. And I felt that school wasn't really pushing him enough.
Yeah. And even like stimulating him.
Yeah. And then he got to year 3. And then I think the nail, you know, as I say, the nail hit the coffin, or the coffin hit the nail on the head, or whatever the saying is, you know, whatever it is.
Don't ask me, I was confused with those kinds of things.
The straw that broke the camel's back.
Stones hit one bird. That's a by the way.
Exactly. So basically, I just saw that his homework for year 3 was exactly the same homework that he had in year 1.
Oh, wow.
They brought it home and I said, why have you got this homework? He said, oh, because there's other kids in the class that actually don't understand this. I said, but you've done this. And my son was like, yeah, I know, mummy. And I said, okay, that's it. Enough is enough. It's time to come home. And I make that decision. And so now I made that decision. I'm putting the request. And then I brought the kids home.
Is it that, parents watching this, I think a lot of us, like I was saying before, there was that point when I was like, do you know what, I'm just going to homeschool him. But then I thought I can't, because the time, like I run my own business, like I just couldn't take, what you do is so amazing. You literally take your children
everywhere
with you, everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I really feel like I could not do that with the type of child my son is. But even in terms of, how do you take him out to school? Do you just literally write a letter to school and be like, I'm going to homeschool from now on? Yeah,
well, you know, I failed to mention that when I made that decision in my own mind, and I had a date in mind, you know, so it's like saying, let's say it was September, and I decided that, okay, I'm going to take them out in January. And literally that was how it was. September, I had it in my mind that I was going to take them out in January. They would just do that term. And within a few weeks of being back at school, a child hit my son and knocked out his 2 teeth at the front.
Oh my God.
And the school did not deal with it. They left him sitting in pain for the whole day with a bloody mouth.
Did they not even ring you?
No, nothing.
That is shocking.
Very shocking. And then his sister had the day before,
oh my God,
I'd kept her at home because they refused to let her go to the toilet. And they left her in that state of uncomfort for all throughout lunchtime, all throughout the day, and until an accident happened. So that was like the culmination. And I just thought, you know what? We do it today. So we just did it that very day. I just, you know, got home, saw the state of my son's mouth, and I said, okay, it starts today. And the very next day, no uniform was worn again, wore their normal clothes, went through the process of the complaints, you know, notifying my local authority with 2 things. 1, I'm homeschooling. 2, my complaint.
So
and then we just
quickly. You can
that
literally...
quickly.
Wow.
You can just give them a date. You can say, look, I want to, you can say from immediate effect. You can put it in writing. You can say with immediate effect. You can say with a so-and-so date. You know, I had a date in mind because I wanted to put things in place for myself. As a parent, because like Veena said, you know, I was studying as well. I was doing a course. I ran a preschool dance business. So I was trying to put in place how I was going to do it. And then it just happened suddenly. And, you know, the funny thing is, sometimes it's good for things to happen suddenly when you don't have time to think about it.
Yeah, I was going to say that because otherwise sometimes, and it happens with so many of us in life, we want to do this. Oh, but we'll do it in 2 years' time.
That's right.
Everyone's always thinking or waiting, but
For that perfect moment, there is
never a perfect moment.
No, never.
So even that was so disgustingly horrible what happened to your children, that was literally the push of like, do you know what?
What am I
That's
doing?
it.
Yeah, and it was, and I'm so happy. It's been the best decision ever because from there, so many things have happened. You know, I've started another business. Busy mum workouts. My daughter's on her journey to be a motivational speaker. None of this would have happened had they been in school.
Yeah.
Because you know,
even all of you, I think that push and motivation. Even when I talk to Feyi's children, they're just so positive about
life.
And I think sometimes with school, like, and I see this in my son, like every day we do like positivity work at home.
That's
like,
right.
You know, we read all this stuff. I talk to him about certain things. But sometimes he'll come home from school and it's like he's been knocked out of him.
That's right. He
He'll
goes
be like,
to school.
Everybody hates me. Everyone thinks I'm like this, so I'm going to behave like that. And I'm like, well, I don't think you're like that. We're not. And I always say to my son, we rise above it. No matter what anyone thinks about you, we are going to prove everyone wrong. And not just about that, like, we're going to prove ourselves right.
That's right. That we are like that. That's right. That we have all that we need in us to be great, successful, wonderful people, you know. And, you know, I totally agree with what you just said because I feel that school does that. My daughter, I remember the time I was always saying positive things to my children. There was a time my daughter came home and we were talking as she was going to bed and she was a little bit upset. And I said, why are you upset? And she said, oh, well, because today my teacher asked us a question. She said, what do you think you can do when you get older? And my daughter put her hand up and she said, I think I can do anything I want to because my mum says I can do anything I want to. And the teacher said, no, you can't. How can you do everything?
What kind of school was this? We won't mention the name.
Yes, it's supposed to be a good school, you know.
Oh, wow.
And she said, no, you can't because even I can't do everything. So that's not possible. And actually that stuck with my daughter. I did not realise that she had played it in her mind back and forth. So when she was going to bed, she was upset because she was thinking about, well, how's that possible? Because mummy always says that I can do anything. Because what happens is my daughter dreams a lot and she's always dreaming about flying. And I used to say to her that when you dream of flying, children dream about flying and children that have big imagination and they're the type of children that can go on to do great things. So now she was thinking, well, I'm always having this dream, but this teacher says, so I had to remind her that no, that poor teacher had probably been told that she couldn't do something.
Exactly.
And that's what she's now teaching other children. But it's not true. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. And that's what she's doing now. That's why she's positively sharing her own message. Excelling. Yes.
She's doing so, and I'll actually put a clip in maybe at the end of this podcast of your daughter.
Amazing angel.
How amazing. Like, if I had that confidence at her age, like, I'd be a multi-millionaire.
I say that as well. Sometimes I say to her, I said, oh my God, I'm learning so much from you because, you know, the funny thing is my daughter, when the cameras are not rolling, she can just be not quiet because she's very, you know, she can talk, but she just goes into herself.
Yeah, You've
seen that, isn't it?
Put the camera on, she's like, hello.
She shines. You know, look at me, I'm mummy, I'm completely different. I'm like, switch the camera off, you know? And she's like...
No, Feyi's I'm very proud of Feyi. She's doing Facebook Lives now. She's getting onto her business, building her brand.
That's right.
In terms of more practical tips as well, because I think if you do have any questions, like, do comment.
Yes. And
Feyi will definitely get back to you as well, and we can all try and help each other out here, because in terms of the practicality of this, I mean, is there like a board you have to, like, how does it work in terms of, do they have to still go and do exams? Do they?
Yeah. Your exams, you have to pay for yourself because they'll basically give you a list. So if it was a GCSE exam, the board, you know, you'll find out what centre that the exam is taking place in, and then you pay for that and your children sit those exams. In terms of...
like the everyday, because for you as well, you haven't just got one child, you've got four children. So how are you... Like, how do you split up? Are you teaching them all the same stuff? Like, is the 7-year-old just learning what the 9-year-old does?
Yeah, basically how we do it is that we'll learn the same subject, but I differentiate the learning styles, because the thing is, a 7-year-old's learning style might be different from the 9-year-old's learning style, or sometimes it might be the same if she likes that subject.
Yeah.
But if one of them is struggling, then you need to change it up. So for example, if I was teaching them fractions, you know, I would first of all start with the basics. So I use things like real life things. So I'll get some biscuits and I'll use that to teach them. And I was like, okay, here's some biscuits. I'm going to cut into quarters. I'm going to cut into thirds. And, you know, you're going to share with each other. And once they've got that, then I'll move on to the sheets, and then my son or my daughter will take that on. The 7-year-old might stay with that to make sure that she's really, really understanding it. And then she can go on and do the next level with the sheets. But then, you know, my son is very bright, so I give him challenges. I give him harder work, because once they get it, there's no point keeping them staying on that same level. He doesn't like to wait. You know, because what happens is when you wait, he slows down his learning. So I just say, okay, here's extra for you. You go and do this. And usually what I've found as well is because we work like this, the 7-year-old usually wants to do the work that the 9-year-old wants to do. So she actually really advanced for her age. So she's 7, but she's working at like a 9-year-old. She's got a reading age of 11 and she's 7 and she spells like she's 9 or 10.
Wow.
And she's only 7. She just turned 7 about a few weeks ago.
And then from the mum's point of view and how you're acting as a teacher, because, you know, my son comes home from school sometimes and I look at his maths work and I think, whoa, I don't even know how to do that. And that's for an 8-year-old.
Yes.
Maths is my weakest subject, but it's just to prove the point of like, I wouldn't know how to teach my son that. How do you have to like read all the books first, or how do you do it? Like,
well, you know, you've got your strengths. So obviously your strengths, you're going to find it easier to teach. The ones that are your weakness, get the help that you need. I'll be honest with you, I tend to read up a lot. So when the kids are in bed, I prepare my lessons, I use the computer, I read books, and I teach myself, because actually it's the great thing about homeschooling is they're learning and you're learning. So you're the teacher, and how do the teachers in the school teach your children? They too have to go away, learn the stuff and come back and teach your children. So you can learn together. You can say, right, if it's something really, really hard, I mean, if it's a history assignment, I sometimes get my kids to go and research it themselves. I say things like, okay, well, mummy's done the basics. This is who we're going to talk about. And this is the era. I want you to now go away, but you're going to give them some guidance when they go away. So you'll say things like, so what would you like to know? And they'll be like, well, actually, I want to know why that person did what they did and who they are. So you write down the question. They're allowed to ask you some questions as to what they would actually like to know. And then they'll go and research, and you come back and you feed off each other and you say, so summarise together.
Do you know what? Even though this sounds like idyllic, I just still couldn't. I couldn't. Do you know what it is? It's because it's that having that. For me, when I'm not with my son, it's like, I feel myself now. Like 6 hours, I can come into London, work. I know I'm making my money. Do you know what I mean? How, on that point of view, how do you do it? Because you're running your business, but do you now have to do that at weekends and try and build your brand that way rather than... Because that is a lot for a mum to take on by herself. Her children are amazing. They're all here now.
Say hi, guys.
They're also amazing, but I still couldn't. Gentle. I just don't know if I could.
Please come around here. This is Prince. Say hello to everyone.
Hello. Hi.
And then this is Cherish. Come, Cherish. Stand next to Prince. Say hello.
Hi. Oh,
Prince, stay there. Stay there. And then Angel, come along and hang on.
The little one is sleeping.
Yeah, the little one's sleeping.
Hi. Hi.
Bend down, Angel. They can't see you. Yeah. Hi. That's them. And the baby's asleep. Yeah.
But how do you...
Well, juggling it with the business, I'll be very honest, is hard. So what we do is we assess our timetable. We have a weekly timetable, and I look at it all the time. So I'm like, okay, this month, for example, mummy's got this event, this, and I put my events in. Then we switch up the timetable if I've got a lot on. So we'll be like, okay, this week we're only going to be working at school so and so days of that week, and that's just basically how we do it. We put everything together. We put their activities, their lessons, and then my business stuff in one timetable. So that way, at a glance, we can see, oh, we're working on Mummy's videos today, Mummy's live. Okay, we're going to do... Sorry, the kids might say, okay, we're going to be doing this. So everyone at the glance can look at the timetable and we know exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. And then one last question before we go, because I think a lot of people would like to know this as well. In terms of obviously them socialising with other children, because I think that's one benefit of school is that you're obviously around other children, you get to learn different personalities, that kind of stuff.
That's right.
But when it comes to your children, are there specific homeschooling groups that you meet up with, or is it just about putting them into extra like drama schools and stuff like that? And
yeah, very true. For me, it's very much about the extra activities. They do so many things. They do acting, they do dancing, they do athletics, they do football. And then we're meeting loads of children, and also because there are homeschool clubs, there are other homeschool places that you can meet up with other people. We generally don't have time to do that as well because we already do so much, and my children are very sociable children, because Mummy's sociable. So when Mummy goes out, they come with Mummy, so they're always meeting people, aren't you? You're always meeting people, even on the train, even if it's on the bus, they're always meeting people, and they're not afraid to have conversations with people. And I expose them to environments where they're going to always meet people. So it's not like they're limited to just being at home. And also, I think also we have the advantage that we don't do our lessons at home. So our school is our library, our local library. We study there 3 times a week.
Wow.
So they have that.
So that's a good idea, to get out the house.
Because
I always just thought homeschooling is
in the house. No. So we go to school 3 times a week and 1 day at home. And then we have 1 day off school. So Fridays are no school. And 3 days in the library and 1 day in the home. And then in the home, that's where you can do all your arts and crafts and so forth. And then your library is where you're doing schooling, because also it gives them that opportunity to have to wake up, get dressed, and go to somewhere. So you don't want them to get out of that routine, because eventually they're going to have to go back to school one day. So you want them to get into that routine of waking up, getting dressed, knowing that we've got to be somewhere, and Mummy gives them a time. I'm like, you got to be ready by this time because we've got somewhere to go. And that's why I do it.
You're seriously amazing, and I just wish you so much success.
Thank you,
for your
Veena.
business that you're launching, what that you're doing at the moment, helping other mums with their fitness. It's like
helping them to achieve the life they want in the body they want.
There we go. That's your tagline.
That's my tagline.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm going to leave all of Feyi's links on the blog post, mumtomillionaire.com/episode 79.
Come closer, go.
So please subscribe.
Say please subscribe, everyone.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
It's all time.